Thank you. Thanks for the time, guys. Take care.
And one more thing, Mr. Dean, few of the speakers are requesting your PowerPoint presentation. So if it is comfortable for you, you can drop that as an email for Mr. Adam. So we'll be sharing the presentation to all.
Okay, unfortunately at the moment, because we're working with a sponsor, we actually can't share it. That's my biggest challenge. But what we can do is if people want a summary list, they can email me. I'll put it into here. They can email me and I can give them a few of the slides that I'm allowed to share. Unfortunately, I know it's a bit of a pain, but we're working through something with a large sponsor. Here's my email address as well. And then I can send you some of the summary points.
Sure, fine. That's fine too.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
Okay, now let us move on to the next speaker. I would like to call upon Mr. Prateep, the Director General of Police from Chennai, to deliver his speech on equilibrium psychology. Mr. Prateep.
Yes, great morning everybody, great afternoon, great evening, great night to people around the world. Great to see all of you in this online global platform. I'm presenting this new approach to psychology, which I call equilibrium psychology. It's actually born in my mind over almost the entire course of my life, as I began to search for a mental toolkit with which I could deal with my own inner mental struggles. In the year 1981, I discovered this simple verbal tool, be at it. And 13 years later, 1994, after much meditation, I discovered the other tool, which is beat it. And I said, wow, this is an aha moment in 1994. This is a new thought process for the world and for me. And what do I call it? And without brainstorming, the answer came up, equilibrium thinking, which you see in that logo. And I further labeled it as equilibrium psychology. So you see, the first decades of the development of the discipline saw psychology dealing with psychopathology or negative psychology. And in the 80s, Martin Seligman of the American Psychology Association said that it won't do to deal with only the negative or to study disease, mental disease, but we must study well-being. And he started the positive psychology movement. And today on this platform, ladies and gentlemen, I would say that we need to move into a new paradigm against the challenges that this global pandemic COVID-19 is presenting, and this approach is equilibrium psychology. The state of health today, mental health, is I'm not able to control the screen. If you could shift to the next slide, I would be assisted in that. Can the host shift to the next slide? Yes. Depression is a common mental disorder, and more than the COVID pandemic, the greater pandemic is the mental health pandemic. Depression is a leading cause of disability worldwide and is a major contributor to the overall global burden of disease. The WHO estimates that about 7.5% Indians suffer from some mental disorder and predicts that by the end of this year, 2021, as India is going through an intense second wave, roughly 20% of Indians will suffer from some mental illness. According to the numbers, 56 million Indians suffer from depression and another 38 million Indians suffer from anxiety disorders. So globally there are 264 million people of all ages suffering from depression. Another 38 million Indians suffer from anxiety disorders. And the state of health in the United States, the numbers show that 47 million Americans suffer from some form of mental illness and primarily depression. And between last year and this year, there are as many as 1.5 million increase in the number of those affected by depression. So there is a need for a new approach. Positive psychology or negative psychology are half-baked, while equilibrium psychology is the full thought process. Equilibrium psychology gives you the ability to handle your strengths creatively and your weaknesses proactively. So the objectives, ladies and gentlemen, of this presentation on this global platform is to transform the thought process from automatic negative thought process to automatic positive thought process, and to teach the mindware, as it were, of the human mind. And the third objective is to enhance. I think Mr. Dean referred to DQ, but the Q's that I refer to here is EQ, emotional quotient, spiritual quotient, persistence quotient, and not intelligence but imagination quotient. So an all-round improvement and enhancement of self-awareness and self-regulation in a holistic sense, not just at the mental level but at the spiritual level, in terms of spiritual values and in terms of improvement of even the physical parameters of health. Because as I would explain in this presentation, equilibrium psychology or equilibrium thinking is compatible with the way the human body itself is configured. And it could lead to greater longevity, better cardiac health, in addition to better mental health. Equilibrium psychology trains our minds to be like a magnet that attracts everything positive, healthy, wholesome, progressive, and repels everything negative, unhealthy, regressive. Every human has a positive mindset on one side and a negative mindset on the other side. The key to finding and maintaining equilibrium is to always get the positive mindset to dominate the negative. This quote comes from my collection of Philippisms, which are itself a byproduct of equilibrium thinking. And my book of Philippisms is the largest number of maxims, management and life maxims coined or framed by any human in any language. And it can be found in the book Philippisms, 3,333 maxims to maximize your life. So as you know, the pattern of life is that at the inner core we have subconscious self. The first presenter spoke about the conscious self, the inner self, and here the subconscious self is at the inner core of the onion called the human mind. And the subconscious self, psychologists have discovered, is a biocomputer. It works on a binary principle of yes, no, positive and negative. So equilibrium psychology is compatible with the way the subconscious mind works. And as we know, 90% of all that we do is committed to the subconscious. But the subconscious, like a child, understands only after several repetitions. But once it understands, it fully complies with the command. So in equilibrium psychology, we move from suggestion, Emily Cohn's coinage of auto-suggestion to auto-command. So as I said in 1981, I wanted to find a way to put my own mind continually on a process of development, continual development. And in that pursuit, I discovered B-habit, and 13 years later, I discovered beat-it, which is the complementary opposite. So when you use these values, spiritual values, which I will deal with in the next slide, like love, joy, peace, patience, be loving, be hatred, always the positive, focus on the positive to overcome the negative. It would automatically turn into thoughts. And attitude is nothing but a habit of thought. And further impact feelings or EQ. EQ, as Daniel Goleman has popularized, is all about SSMS. The acronym SSMS stands for self-awareness, self-regulation. He says there should be a continual inner dialogue within a human to develop emotional intelligence. And MES stands for motivation. So equilibrium thinking or equilibrium psychology is an ATM, anytime motivation, anytime meditation. It is bringing meditation, monastic detachment in corporate settings. So as a police officer, we have trained a large number of police officers from the basic constabulary level to the senior levels in equilibrium psychology, with salutary effects on them. And that in turn influences behavior. So SSMS, self-awareness improves, self-regulation improves, motivation, you can tap into your inner ATM. The source of power lies within you. And E is empathy, the sense of feeling the pain of another as if it is your own. And the final SS stands for social skills. The sensitivity, the ability to communicate, problem-solving abilities, and so on. So this subconscious reprogramming, rewiring, enables a cascade effect to flow onto the behavioral levels. Mere behavioral interventions turn out to be superficial and do not impact the inner core of the human mind. And that's why there is a need for this inner regulation and inner dialogue, a continual inner dialogue. It is not as if you meditate at a particular time, but when your eyes open, you have a self-talk process. Chad Helmstetter, who devoted his